Hello. I don't know if y'all can hear my song, but this is my jam. That old church choir. How you doing? I'm so glad you could join me. Hands and stomp your find that gospel beat. It's a beautiful day. Singing in my soul. It's been reborn. Oh, church choir singing in my soul. Salvation that has been restored. Sometimes we all need an old church choir in our souls, because there isn't anything that can steal my joy. And as such, look at this. There doesn't need to be anything that can steal your joy either. Well, welcome, welcome. I'm glad you tuned in. For those who may not know me, my name is Jenay Myers, and I am a wife, mom, an entrepreneur, homeschooling mom, but most importantly, I am a child of God. And I am here to share with you, and it's my hope that something I will say will resonate with you to help encourage you and inspire you to live in your passion. So let's start with a little background, if we may. Because as we know, our life is like a story, and it has a beginning, it has a middle, and it has an end. And as children, when we grow up, we have all these bright ideas of what we want to become. Some of us doctors, some of us lawyers, some of us firemen, police officers. And then, of course, that changes throughout our adolescent years. And then we end up going off to college, or some of us may immediately go to the workforce. But through that time, it changes. And then life happens. And then we find ourselves like, how did I get here? So I would like to start from the beginning. Not necessarily the beginning, but a little bit about my background to show you how I arrived at my purpose, unbeknownst to me, of course. So when I was in school, I wanted to be a pediatrician. My background, or the essence of who I am, is to be a servant and to help others. And so I thought I wanted to help the kids. Everybody loved the kids, right? And so that changed, and I went to school to become a physical therapist. And I ended up at DePaul University. They didn't have a PT program, but they did have a sports medicine program. And they invited me to be a part of the athletic training program, and they would make sure that I took whatever classes I needed to pursue my physical therapy aspirations, so that I could go on and receive my master's in PT. So coming from Atlanta, Atlanta public school system, I wasn't, I played basketball and ran track 8th and 9th grade, but I was in the band. The marching band, was the drum major. But one thing I did notice with our sports, we didn't necessarily have a certified athletic trainer, nor did we have student athletic trainers. What we had were water girls and water boys. And so when they invited me to be a part of the sports medicine program, that's when I learned that, other schools out there do it a lot different. So I got involved with that, working with the different teams. And for those of you that may not know what a certified athletic trainer is, we all watch football, or we did prior to COVID 19, and basketball. So whenever you see an athlete fall down, you see people run out there. And those are athletic trainers. Some of them are, sometimes it may be the doctor, but it's typically the certified athletic trainer that runs out on the field to see if the athlete is all right and to take care of them. So that is what they invited me to be a part of. And so through that program, I received my bachelor's in human um, health and human performance with an emphasis in sports medicine. Went on to pursue my master's in health, education, recreation, and dance with a minor in biomechanics and athletic training as well. And so I always wonder, why is it that I proceeded so fast during my career track, I should say. As a certified athletic trainer, the highest level is professional sports. And so once I graduated, I came back home to Atlanta. I believe my first job was at Spelman College. I was the head athletic trainer over there. And then ultimately, it was funny because when I was in undergrad, my dream, because as some of you may know, my father, he's a boxing coach. And so my goal was to get all the information, come back, help him with his business, and be the certified athletic trainer for his boxing program. And so then I had aspirations of being the first female athletic trainer with the Atlanta Falcons. And so I networked, got all, got to know everybody, got in the right places, because a lot of it is who you know. But even with that, because of how the athletic training room was designed, unfortunately, it was not feasible, at the time for a female athletic trainer to be a part of that corporation or that team or that organization. So anyway, fast forward all of that, I ended up reaching the highest level of my career. And I ended up being the head athletic trainer for one of the WNBA teams. And again, fast track, because I worked with the NFL Europe training camp. I worked with the pro developmental league for the NBA. I just different things. And all of this were situations that were brought to me, and it wasn't something that I sought out. And it wasn't until probably after my first child, going into my second child, that I realized why I moved so fast in my career and why I reached the top. Because as some of you, well, you may not know, but as an athletic trainer, that is a white male dominated field. And as you can see, I'm neither one of those. And so for me to be able to reach that level, number one, it's not that many head athletic trainers, period. And number two, for me to be a, minority double, African American female, that is something to be very proud of, which I am. But then I had to, unfortunately, as people know with sports, when they sell the team, everybody doesn't go with them. And so my first year, they ended up selling the team and only the players went. And so therefore the coaches and the staff, did not go. And so I had to come back home and had to regroup and see what I was going to do. And that landed me in a medical device sales position, where I worked closely with orthopedic physicians and internists and podiatrists, and even going into the operating rooms where I assisted orthopedic surgeons in implanting devices into patients. When I say assisted, I did not touch any patient. I was just there as a resource for the device that I had that the physician was using. So let's make that clear. Janae did not touch any patient, okay? But I was there as a resource, for the physician, if and when he needed it, for the surgeon. So anyway, fast forward, I ended up having to go on bed rest because of my first child. Her life was being threatened. And so I had to end up going on bed rest. And so in it, that's a whole story in itself. And I would love to share that with you, on another day. But here, we are here for a specific purpose, and that is to help those who need it to recognize that life just doesn't happen to you. So I ended up having to leave my medical device sales job because I went on complete bed rest at 18 weeks. And I ended up having my child at 27 weeks because she ended up having an infection, which I had to go into the hospital at 23 weeks thinking that I was getting ready to have my baby girl then. And so she was born at 27 weeks, and we didn't know if she was going to live or die, but we were believing, for a miracle that she, was going to live, and which she did, and beat all odds and all of that. And then I ended up, it's funny how when you become a parent, your whole world stops and your life then becomes about your child or about your children. And so my goal was to make sure she was okay and that she was able to thrive and live and be all that God called her to be. And so we went through, that is when I got a taste of quote unquote homeschooling then, because as preemies, some of them are set out to have developmental delays. And so I didn't want my child to have any developmental delays. So we were doing everything that we needed to make sure her brain was developing properly, her cognition was developing properly, just everything was developing properly. And so much so we did such a good job that at 18 months she could read at 18 months. And so that was my first taste of homeschooling, not knowing what homeschooling really was. And so when I thought I was getting ready to go back to the workforce, a year later, after we got her, good, and she's good to go and thriving and healthy and quote unquote normal, as a typical regular child being born at regular normal gestation, I was getting ready to go back to work. And January 2009, I remember vividly, I was on 7585 heading north, passing what used to be Turner Field. And I thought I was coming down with the flu. And that's when my mom was like, no, I don't think you have the flu. And she knew, but I didn't know. I was like, clearly something must be going around. Something was going around in my uterus. It was called a baby. And so found out that I was pregnant again. And I was like, okay, Lord, I guess, it's not time for me to go back to work yet. So because of what happened with my previous pregnancy, we didn't know what to expect with this one. So it's funny how you allow history to be your guide, which is smart and wise to do, but we have to be extra cautious to not let history diminish or extinguish our light and keep it from shining as bright as God has intended for it to be. Our history is for us to learn from and for us to not repeat the same mistakes, but our history is not to keep us from living out our purpose and living out our mission and what it is God will have us to do. And so once I got past the 27-week mark, now I'm like, okay, what I'm supposed to do now, because this is all new. And so anyway, that son, he came, he actually went 4 days past his due date, and I had him natural, no drugs, no anything, just straight natural. And so But 2 months after he was born, I started suspecting he had food allergies. And so 6 months, well, after collecting data, and realizing his skin, the eczema, it was just bad, so I started eliminating things from my diet. And then 6 months, about 4 months later, he got tested at 6 months of age. And that's when I found out that, yes, he does have food allergies, and a lot of them, and life threatening. And so at that point, I was like, okay, Lord, I guess I'm supposed to stay at home and not return back to work. And so that's what I did. And so sometimes, life puts you on a different path than what you may have set out for yourself. But that doesn't necessarily mean that wasn't your intended path in the first place. So we have to be mindful and be alert and be attentive to what is going on around us, and not be so quick to put up our defenses to say, no, that's not for me, or no, I'm not doing that, or no, that's not right. For example, we have, COVID is going on, and we have kids returning back to school. And for some parents, that just doesn't feel right in their heart and in their spirit. And they're like, but I got to go to work. But I don't want to send my child out here because they may be harmed. They may die. They may have underlying issues that we have yet to know about. So what do I do? So we have to be okay with taking a different path, a path that we didn't set out to take, a path that may not be typical for people that look like us or people in our circle, but we must do what we feel is right in our hearts to do. And so that started my journey as a stay-at-home mom. And so then we were trying to put my daughter in Montessori, but y'all who have ever inquired about Montessori, you know how of an expensive price tag that is. So of course we declined on that for right then, and said, we'll have to figure something else out. So due to my son's food allergies, I was introduced to another family that also had food allergies, but they were also homeschooling, another African American family. Because again, growing up in Atlanta public school system, in my family, our circle, never heard of homeschooling, none of that. And so we set out to homeschool and got all the information and all of that. And so I fast forward, a lot of people may know my story now, as far as my daughter, my oldest, the one who was born, at 27 weeks, 5 years ago, back in March. She went to heaven, transitioned to heaven due to a pediatric brain tumor. And so during that journey, and after, well, no, not during that journey, but after she transitioned, I sat back and I was like, wow, though I only had 7 years with her, I had all of those 7 years. I didn't have to share them with school. I didn't have to share them with daycare. I didn't have to share those hours with anybody, because mommy was daycare, mommy was school. And so, and I look at that and I think about that sometimes. Again, how your life transpires, or how it unfolds right before your eyes. And so, so I say all of that to say, you may not be where you want to be, or you may be exactly where you need to be, but listen to your heart within and know that God is watching over you. God has you covered, and he has already authored your story. And I wear this tiara as a reminder of how my life purpose came to fruition. This is a tiara my daughter would always wear wherever she was going, grocery store, to somebody else's birthday party, just around the house. It did not matter. She knew who she was, and that was Princess Jayla. And so she taught me as a preemie, being born premature, she taught me about the importance of being a mommy, the importance of being all in, 100% present. Because of her, now mind you, I told you my background. My background is in health, right? So I know all about exercising and eating right. And prior to that, my parents, were my first teachers, and so they taught me about the importance of living a physically active lifestyle. And my father, taught me about supplements and and all of that. But it wasn't until my daughter came that I learned about the importance of choosing the right foods to eat and being selective, and that all foods are not created equal. And just because it had organic on it does not mean it was truly organic, unless it was USDA certified organic. And so she got us on our path of eating right. And then of course when my son came along, he made it even better because of his multiple, food allergies and environmental allergies. We pretty much had to, I was breastfeeding. I breastfed, all of my kids, and I breastfed on demand. So they stopped when they stopped. I did not wean them because I just did not want to do that, so having kids helped me to I hope you all can still see me because my thing is talking about is having problems playing my video. But having kids helped me to realize what my purpose is. My daughter taught me about the proper foods we need to eat. She also helped me to realize that the products that we were using on our skin was not good for us, by her her neonatologist letting us know that we needed to be mindful of that. And here it is, I was in my 30s thinking that, again, the our country, the FDA regulated our products. Oh, good. Thank you, Tanika, for letting me know that you can see me clearly. But here it was, I'm in my 30s, thinking that our products are safe for us. But unbeknownst to me, I, in turn, we don't know where my daughter, got the cancer from. It doesn't run in our family. But what I did find out is that we as women, whatever toxins we carry in our body, that does get transferred to our babies in utero. In utero. So is it possible that the toxins that I had could have, caused the cancer in her body? Yes, it's possible. Any child born regardless, straight out the womb, they have over 200 to 300 toxins in their bodies. And so okay, that's that sentence in itself is very, it takes my breath away, because we as mothers, the last thing we want to do is harm our children. That's the last thing we want to do. And we go through all these things, some women back in the day, we as black women, before everybody started, going natural and getting a hair strain, we were using relaxers. So, but when we got pregnant, guess what? We stopped using the relaxers because we knew that the chemicals weren't bad, weren't good. So it's like, here it is, not realizing that just everyday lotions and all this stuff that we're using, that we use as children, it builds up in our bodies, it stays there. Some of it gets eliminated, but not all of it. We have to work even, harder to do detoxes and things like that to get the toxins out. But unknowingly, we pass this stuff from the foods that we eat, from the products that we use, from the air that we breathe, all the toxins that come from those things. We pass it to our babies. And so anyway, this crown symbolizes my purpose. And my purpose is to serve others, is to help others, is to inspire others, to let them know that no matter what it is you have gone through, no matter what it is you have been through, no matter what it is you will face, nothing can stop you unless you allow it to stop you. God is real. He exists. He loves you. He does not set out to harm you. He does not set out to destroy you. And yes, I did say destroy you, because when stuff happens to you that takes the breath out of your body, you look to him and you ask him, why? Why would you allow this to happen? If you love me, no, you wouldn't allow this to happen. So I'm here to let you know you are absolutely right. He would not allow it to happen. And he does love you. So things happen that we may not be able to explain, that we may not be able to understand and comprehend, just like with our own children. Their world comes crashing down when we put a stop on whatever it is they want, and they may not understand at the time, but we as their parents, we know, we understand, we see the big picture. And that is how God sees us. He loves us. He cares for us. He would do any and everything for us. So trust me when I say, when the SHIT hits the fan, it's not him that's doing it. It's him that's keeping you, sustaining you. It's allowing you to keep on living and breathing and putting one foot in front of the other, because tomorrow is coming. Morning may be here for now, but joy comes in the morning. And I'm living proof of that. And it's funny, somebody told me at the 5-year mark, it's like something that just happens. I don't know. I know for my family, we had to get out of town. And I thought we were going to be out of town for longer, like 2 to 3 years. But we ended up coming back again. Life happened. My brother died. Still, we weren't going to come back. But the house we were renting, they decided to sell it. And so we're like, well, we thought we were going to be here for 2 to 3 years. But now, since we got to move, should we stay or should we go back? So we went back. And it's like when we came back, I don't know what happened, but I say that to say, when you feel you need a break, when you feel you need to step away, do that, because you are no good to anyone if you're no good to yourself. Self-preservation, self-love, self-care is important, and it's vital, and it's necessary, because we are in a war. We are in a fight. And if you don't believe me, look at where we are now, COVID-19. Who could have imagined? And speaking of that, why is it okay for our children to go back to school, but it's not okay for prisoners to stay in prison because they don't want it to spread? Why is it okay for our children to go back to school, but it's not okay for the Republican and Democratic conventions to go on? Why is it okay for virtual schooling? No. Why is it okay for sports like football to continue to go on, but they are allowing people to choose virtual schooling? Again, we got to think big picture. We got to recognize, what is our purpose? Why are we here? And as parents, whatever your heart's desire is, whatever that itching, burning feeling in you, that you've always wanted to do, or that even if you just look back over your life, from a child, from a teenager, from a young adult to, now where we stand now, just look at the consistency of who you were along those paths, because you are your purpose, and you have to be okay with stepping out into your purpose. And yes, it may be scary. It was scary for me to, decide, okay, out of everybody in my circle, I'm gonna stay home and homeschool. It was hard to watch my friends, reach different levels or reach things and all this and that. But comparing yourself to others, that's not good, because what God has for you is for you, no matter what anyone says. And so, in doing your purpose, you not only help to change your life, but you help to change the lives of the people that you would touch. And you don't know who you have to touch. You don't know what God has planned for you. Just look at John Lewis. He didn't know. He out there preaching to the chickens. He didn't know. But that was just in his heart. He was feeding what was in his heart. He didn't know, his burning desire to say enough is enough and too much is too much would lead him, not only in Tennessee to spark a movement there, but to bring it back to Alabama, then to Georgia. He did not know, but God knew. And so we just have to trust and follow the path. We have to trust and follow the path that God lays before us without judgment, and say, okay, all right, COVID's here. I'm not sending my child to school because I want them to keep living. Okay, so I got to homeschool. Okay, all right. Okay, so my job, I'm a teacher. Okay, I don't want to go back because I don't want to die. I want to live. So, okay, I got to find something else to do. Okay, we don't know. We don't know. Just listen, because He knows. He knows. And I give an example of this. There's a woman named Linda Hope. She's a part of Beauty Counter, and she is the managing director over the team that I'm a part of. Beauty Counter is my one of my entrepreneur ventures that I started. And it's funny because this one lady was approached with an opportunity that could possibly change her life. And she said yes. She was hesitant. She didn't know, but she said yes. And 5 years ago, fast forward now 5 years, because she said yes 5 years ago, that one action has changed the lives of over 488 people. And I just look at, we don't know how God wants to use us. My child died from brain cancer. I've used my business to help raise money to help other families that are now fighting that fight, and who are now in the same position that I'm in. We don't know what God has for us, but we do know, as long as you keep Him first, as long as you keep your eye on Him, that everything will work out. Yes, COVID is bad, but for my family, COVID has been a blessing. And I do believe, after all that we have been through, I do believe that we deserve a little bit of goodness, going on right now. And that is what we are receiving. So I want to encourage you to just keep your faith. Don't allow fear to stop you. Don't allow your past to hinder you. Don't allow others to cloud your vision, but stay true to what has been placed in your heart for you to do. Stay true to what has been placed in your visions for you to do. And I want to close. My family and I were watching the Cruds. I don't know if you all remember that movie. Such a great movie. But that song that comes on at the end is called "Shine Your Way" by Adam Young. And I want to share a few words with you from that song, to kind of help encourage you to, when an opportunity presents itself, if you feel it's right, but yet you're scared, just leap. Just leap. Open road, but it's still dark. Build a fire from a spark and shine your way. And the feeling in your heart, don't conceal it. Then you'll start to find your way. No one can stop what has begun. You must believe when I say shine your way. There's an open sky and a reason why you shine your way. There's so much to learn, and now it's your turn to shine your way. There's a feeling deep inside. You can let it be your guide to find your way. And there's no time for us to waste. Go, take a leap of faith and shine your way. Thank you for tuning in. I hope and pray that my words have touched you, have inspired you to just go take your leap of faith in whatever it is that God has placed before you. Know that you do not walk alone. Know that God has not forsaken you. He loves you. He cares for you. And he still has your back. My name is Jenay. Thank you for tuning in. And hopefully I'll see you here, same time, same place. And I'll be sharing with you more about finding and living your purpose. See you later. God bless.